Guess who's coming to dinner?
Gene Roddenberry hated the script. He was very, very distressed. A, because, as in all my other Star Treks, 2 and 4, it was very much a military operation. And B, these guys were prejudiced. They were bigoted. They were racist.
There was that line where Captain Kirk says, well, let them die.
They are dying.
Let them die.
Our whole premise proceeded from his bigotry, his response to Klingons having caused the death of his son.
And I thought that was very harsh and not something Kirk would say. And Nick Meyer, as the author and as the director, insisted. And I said to Nick, well, I'll say it the way you want, but I have an idea of when somebody makes a remark, well, drop dead. Now, look, I didn't mean that. And I said, let me say the line and then withdraw it. Like that came out the wrong way, Captain Kirk. So I did that.
Don't trust them. Don't believe them.
They're dying.
Let them die.
And I realized that any director could put a pair of scissors between the line and the look. So I extracted a promise from him that he'd keep the look in because it mitigated the line. And he broke his promise. So I felt badly about that because in the validity, the veracity of the character, it's not something that Captain Kirk would say, although it's dramatic.
We were drawing parallels not only between the Klingons and the Russians, but from a bigoted Federation perspective, from the Klingons to African Americans of another era.
Nichelle was to say a line, yes, but would you like your daughter to marry one, which is the cliche racial epithet. And she didn't want to do it. And she, because of her own individual background, was coming from a kind of passionate point of view of I hate racism, and Nichelle, will not say it. Whereas it might have been an interesting, if done tongue-in-cheek, it might have been an interesting comment by Uhura on black and white and Klingon prejudice.
Ladies and gentlemen, the CNC.
Very early on, when the Starfleet command meets and are told that the Klingon Empire is breaking up and that many of them will be emigrating to the Federation, Brock Peters, an African-American actor, delivers a long and vitriolic speech about why they should not be allowed to emigrate.
What I remember about the Brock Peters speech was not so much the speech, but of Nick's casting idea to have Brock Peters in because of To Kill a Mockingbird.
I thought it would be particularly chilling and meaningful coming out of the mouth of an actor we recognize as being part of an oppressed American minority.
The speech was great, but I thought the genius of it was casting Brock to play that role.
Brock Peters, being a professional actor, gave it his best shot to say these lines and say them with conviction. But they were so deeply repugnant to him personally that he couldn't give the speech in one take.
Clearly, the racism he imparts in these lines betrays something of his own being as uncomfortable with those lines because how they resonate in his own real life and in our world.
He didn't think my idea was wrong, that he should say this. Brock was willing to give it his best shot. He had various, I think, understandable psychological impedimenta, and he overcame it.
To offer Klingons safe haven within Federation space is suicide. Klingons would become the alien trash of the galaxy. And if we dismantle the fleet, we'd be defenseless before an aggressive species with a foothold on our territory. The opportunity here is to bring them to their knees. Then we'll be in a far better position to dictate terms.
Everybody at number one, very, very quiet.
Get it real quiet on stage, please.
Please make it animated and energetic. Don't let it sag, as it will be inclined to do as the day goes on.
When I first met Nick Meyer, I thought he was Dustin Hoffman.
Okay, fellas.
Roll, please.
Directing is a all-day job. It's 24 hours. And if you're not on the set, you're thinking about the set. And if you are on the set, you're thinking about a dozen things. Mostly how to get going faster.
I'm a fan of the even-numbered movies, sorry. You know, 2, 4, and 6 I think are, you know, some of the better movies. And Nick just, you know, has a wonderful sense and feel for Star Trek as, you know, almost like opera, that it's just grand and big and bold and a little brash.
He has dark hair and a kind of hangdog look and a shuffling gait, hidden behind which is truly one of the most intellectual minds in Hollywood. Unfortunately, that's not a compliment in Hollywood.
Nick Meyer will remain in my mind as one of the nicest experiences I've ever had working with someone who was civilized, who had wit, charm, and was able to write in a town which is used to monosyllabic scripts, words that had life to them and had a sense of language.
If he were to answer what it was about it that appealed to him and what he looked to do in his work in those films, it is to find the truth in the stories he was writing. Not the science fiction, not to labor the word fiction, but to labor the word truth, human dramatic truth. And that's what that describes his character.
And I got a lot out of my relationship with Nicholas Meyer because he taught me something about the future. Cutting edge technology today, 25 years from now, may be old hat. And Nick knows all those things. Nick says all those things. Nick believes those things, and he makes you understand.
He has a knack for a very intricate plot. And also he knew all these actors from the previous experience, and he knew how to deal with them. And which is amazing because, you know, there are more than 2 other directors in that Enterprise crew.
Nick Meyer was more, to me, it was more strict. Bill Shatner was kind of more jovial when we were working together, and Nick Meyer was kind of more strict and really kind of more hardcore than Bill Shatner was.
And I remember feeling sorry for Nick that he was in that position, and feeling relief that I didn't have to worry about whether the sun was going to set on the shot or not, or whether the guy or the girl who was in makeup was going to come out on time, that kind of thing. So there was a sense of great relief that I was not directing and I was only responsible for acting the part.
The Star Trek actors definitely knew the characters they played, but they never pulled rank in any of my experiences with them. They were all eager to contribute to the product. They were all eager to figure out. They would say things like, "This isn't the way Kirk talks. This isn't the way Spock talks."
It was his movie to make. I respected that. I didn't want to be looking over his shoulder and acting as if I was, or even actually second guessing him in any way. But if I thought there was a need or an opportunity to do something that maybe in his preoccupation with other problems might miss it, might overlook it, I would say to him, "I think you need a shot of this or that," and most often would get it. I hope I was helpful to him.
You definitely had 3 very strong people working on this film in regards to Nick Meyer, Leonard Nimoy, and Bill Shatner, who of course have all directed them before. So they definitely had their own opinions on what should be happening, and the ideas behind maybe we should change this line, and the other one is saying, I really don't think so. I think maybe we should be doing this other thing. So it was really quite a lot of fun to stand back and watch.
And sometimes, one of them will say, well, this scene is about me, or this scene, you should should have a close-up of me and then pan the camera from me to this and that, and it started to drag. So he would patiently listen. Then immediately he began to recite Scene 3, Act 2 of some Shakespeare's play, and then he would recite dialogues and then go on. And then he would say, "Oh, this is the feeling I'm trying to create. So my idea is this," and completely bluffed the actors in an entertaining way, so which I thought was pretty amazing.
I just hope that I can work with Nick Meyer again. I hope he's watching this to give me a job. That's what I'm really auditioning for.